Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest, former WCW Hardcore Champion, Cruiserweight Champion, Tag Team Champion. He is, of course, the timeless one himself, formerly known as Devon Storm. He is, of course, Crowbar. Welcome, two-man power trip. How you doing?
Hey man, what's going on? Thanks so much for having me on. This is going to be cool.
What is going on in your world? I know you are insanely busy.
Yes, it's. I know it's hard to get in contact, and someone asked me the other day about pro wrestling, what's going on, and the hardest part about it right now is when I was with WCW, that was my job. I just had to stay in shape, eat right. When I was in Atlanta, go to the power plant, show up at shows, wrestle, and that was it. And that was pretty cool. Fast forward to 2023, I still friggin' love pro wrestling. Way back in the day, it was not fashionable or allowed for you to profess how much you enjoy it, but I love pro wrestling. And the hardest part about it now is actually the juggling act of running my business and uh, being a dad, being a husband, like a husband, going to kids' sports, going to kids' activities, going to the gym. It's I love pro wrestling, but that's actually the most challenging part is being the family man and a business owner and trying to juggle all these things and make them all work.
Man, and
Do
be
podcasts, yes, too.
yes, and do
Yes,
independent wrestling too, right? I mean, you're
yes,
still doing
yep.
indies.
Sure, including that, and including that and the podcast. So it's a crazy time, but I'm loving everything that I'm involved in. It's just a really it's a hardcore juggling act.
Oh yeah, and sometimes, occasionally, winning the ISPW Heavyweight Championship, right?
Oh, you got to do stuff like that once in a while.
Pretty cool. Tommy, I've known obviously forever, a buddy of mine, obviously your buddy, but
Me too, long time.
yeah,
Yes,
man, my God, I remember going to his conventions and he was talking you up. This is like 25 years ago.
yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, So I was like, wow, it's still hanging and banging after all these years. Pretty amazing.
Still hanging and banging, still having a great time again. Really enjoying myself, especially at this stage. There's no pressure on it. There's no nothing. I'm out there because I genuinely enjoy what I'm doing. I think I do it at a more than modernly acceptable level. I'm having a blast working with the younger guys, working with the older guys that could still go really hard, like Danny Doring. I'm just having I'm having an absolute blast.
So it's basically 30 years in the business for you, right? So I mean, how were you able to
32.
32? Holy crap!
32. Yes.
Wow.
Started when I was
So how?
17.
Oh my God, it's amazing. So how are you able to like still stay in shape and still do it at a high level 32 years later?
I think a huge part of it is my physical therapy background. I am a licensed physical therapist for 25 years, and that gives me a knowledge on the body, the anatomy, the physiology, and I know how to deal with and how to manage injuries as they occur. A lot of wrestlers, they're very proficient in going to the gym, going to the weight room, and they think that that translates into knowing how to cure themselves. A lot of wrestlers don't go to doctors, they don't go to physical therapy, they don't seek medical help, and they think they could fix it through the gym or through talking to a friend that knows somebody that knows somebody. I have a firsthand knowledge of how to deal with smaller things and how to eliminate them before they become bigger things. And that's been a huge part of me being able to still perform at a high level. Another thing is that I've really gone through my move set. I know a lot of people say it looks like I'm doing a lot of wild stuff still. Looks like I'm doing a lot of crazy stuff still. Last year, dropping a leg off the top of a cage. People say when I preach safety, that looks nuts. That's I do one move to the inside of the ring off the top of the cage. That's it. I know how to set it up. I know how to do it. I know how to protect myself. and the other guy, and of all of the things that you could do off of the top of the cage, in my opinion, the way I do it, it's one of the safest ways to do it. So outside of that, I've chosen a move set that I believe is very athletic looking, very violent looking, but at the end of the day, very, very safe, where I could both take care of myself, take care of my opponent, do a very crazy, violent, athletic looking match, and have us go to the back unscathed. And for me, that's a huge win. When I go to the back and I yes, guy, yeah, we really went hard. We did X, Y, and Z, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You heard it all? No. Fuck yeah, big win.
That's what it's all about, right? I mean, safety,
Yep.
name of the game.
Well,
Looking
not so
like,
much anymore, but
yeah. Well,
I
supposed
believe
to be
so. Yes.
right. Supposed to be look like you're hurting each other, not actually hurt each other. It's what it should be all about, anyway.
Yes.
It always seems to be different for whatever reason. Now it seems a lot of the guys are doing it for real and really getting hurt and not getting the same reaction as the other guys did years ago when they weren't really doing it. It looked like they were doing it. You know what I mean?
And I get that too, because I learned this whole safety thing way later in my career than I should have. When I was younger, I did ridiculous stuff, very dangerous stuff. I could point out 3 times in my career where I honestly should have been dead or at that bare minimum paralyzed. God was with me. My guardian angel was with me. Whatever you subscribe to, I was very, very lucky.
Man, if you look
So
at
I
just
understand that enthusiasm. I understand the energy to want to go out there and do this wild stuff. And when you're younger, you want to do this wild, crazy stuff, but you don't think about the consequences. If it's maybe a 60-40 move, you think you could still hit it and take care of you and the other guy. And that's when accidents happen.
and it just seems like a lot of the guys today, there's obviously a lot of injuries, but it just seems like they're just going crazy, not even thinking about protecting the opponent. Let's just do crazy moves. I'm not going to
Mhm.
catch the guy on the floor. I mean, there's like a million things I could bring up where they do today, where it's just like mind boggling sometimes.
And I was there. That was me a
Fast
long
forward,
time ago.
fast
Yes.
forward though. Now, like, what would you tell the guys? Like, guys, you got to smarten up. I smartened up. But what would you say?
The quicker you smarten up, the better. I'm able to do this at 49 years old. Uh, I'm not trying to brag, but I hang with guys 20 years my younger, and it's all because I've kept my body safe and I've kept my body in shape by being smart. And I learned how to be smart and safe way later in the game as well. And so if you can learn it at an earlier age, you'll add years on to your career.
Do you work out every day, or like, what does your workout look like?
I work out almost every day if I can. I try to work out every single day. I try to hit cardio every single day. That enables me to hang with these younger guys. When you have a strong cardio where you don't blow up or where you don't tire out, it enables you to do these higher risk moves more safely. If you're more tired, you're more at risk for screwing something up. So I really try to hit cardio without fail. If I have a really busy day between work and family stuff, and I have the option to do weights or cardio, I'll do cardio first. But on an ideal week, I'll do weights at least five days. I'll do cardio every single day.
Man, that's pretty
Just find
amazing.
time to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, 49, but 49, like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm 41. I'm like, I don't really want to do cardio. And you know what I mean? It's like pretty amazing. You just keep going.
Pro
Timeless, if you
wrestling,
will.
pro wrestling, I think keeps me healthy. People say, "Oh, that wrestling's no good for you. You're going to hurt yourself. You're taking too many bumps." My buddy Ace Darling is one of them.
Hmm.
But when you're so busy with work and with family and stuff, and it comes time to go to the gym, to work out, to do weights, to do cardio, sometimes you just don't want to. But the fact that I want to look halfway decent, that I want to look good when I wrestle, that I want to have a good wind and be able to perform at a very high level, that pushes me to go to the gym and stay healthy. It pushes me to eat right. So as far as the overall health, pro wrestling is a great motivator.
Interesting. Yeah, and it's actually kept you quote unquote timeless, right? I mean, as the gimmick
Yeah.
says.
Yes.
I love that stuff. Where was the motivation behind that stuff? I love that timeless stuff.
Timeless. So a long time ago, I did a TV taping for Ring of Honor in Baltimore, and I was getting Jim Cornette brought me in, and I was in the back getting dressed. He may not remember this, but burned. It burned a memory in my brain to be used at a later date. I believe it was either 2012 or 2014. I forget which one, but I was getting changed backstage, and at that point in time, I was still in decent shape and stuff, and I was getting changed. Cornette walked by. He did a double take. He goes, "Goddamn fuck, the timeless Devon Storm," and he walked off. And I took that and I stored it back there.
Hmm.
That maybe one day I'll use that. It sounded friggin' cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love that. And he just said
Jim
it like
Cornette.
flippantly. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like,
flippantly.
I look good. I guess I looked younger than I should, and I worked better than a guy my age should have. And he goddamn fuck, timeless Devon Storm. And then he just walked off. And I
What do
took
you,
that and I stored it in my brain.
so what did you like? What made you kind of turn it into that character? Were you doing the awesome thing with the goblet and the awesome promos and stuff?
So from there, I started to think of this more uh, edgy character, more kind of Pulp Fiction-y, Eyes Wide Shut-y kind of thing. But I really wasn't sure what to do with it. So for a while, I was wearing all black. For a small period of time, I had baggy pants like Mang and a corset with a nose to ear ring. And I would come out to the Comanche from Pulp Fiction, bring out the Gimp music. And
Yep.
but
Yep.
that wasn't quite it. But it was the start of it. It was the early seeds of what would grow into what we see now. And the whole timeless thing, that was the base. And then one summer, I was in my pool with a bunch of friends, Little Guido, Danny Doring, Roadkill, Bull James, and we were just discussing characters. We had a couple beers, of course, and we're all just there floating around. And Danny Doring he goes, "You should just be Chris Ford if you were a prick." And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Dude, you're doing really well with your business. You don't need wrestling. You choose to wrestling. So it's like this weird addiction, this weird fetish you have that you just gotta wrestle. It's a compulsion, but you don't need to. And he goes, you're smart. You're a businessman. You're well off." He goes, "Just kind of think about what Chris Ford would be if you weren't a nice guy that we all know, that if you were a prick." That was the exact verbiage right there. And it kind of evolved into this with this promo thing. And I guess in 2019, the end of 2019, I had this idea for me, my wife Dina, wearing the Mardi Gras Venetian mask. I had a bodyguard, Adam, who's still with me. They both still work with me from time to time. The big guy in my videos, he was a great story. He was actually a patient of mine, wrestling fan, came in to my practice. I treated him for a tendonitis. We bonded over wrestling. I referred him to a local wrestling school. His first handful of the matches, I worked with him, and he became the bodyguard slash administrative assistant slash sommelier, wine steward, whatever. He's this big, multi-talented guy. And I'm out there with my wife. we're wearing masks. It's kind of like eyes wide shut. We're weirdos, and it really is an amplification of real life. I'm not trying to be snarky at all. I'm not. Life is good, thank God. I thank God every single day. The business thrives. It's growing each year to year. We're the physical therapy practice to go to around here, thank God. And so a lot of my friends, a lot of my family has always said, "You're doing so well with your business. Why are you risking getting hurt wrestling? Why do you do this wrestling?" And it is just a genuine love, a compulsion, a need to do it. I don't need to do it, but I want to do it. It's this visceral compulsion of something I have to fulfill, and that kind of is this timeless character with an amplifier on it, if that makes sense. Based on reality, blown way out of the proportion by the. I'm not a wino. I swear I'm not. I don't live in black and white. I very rarely wear a suit. But we've kind of made this kind of neat, cool character. The promos are fun, and I will put those promos that I do when I'm in character as the timeless Crowbar up against anybody's on any TV program.
I love them. I think they're so cool. They're so unique. I know you've been doing it for a while, but just so innovative and cool. And I just even love the way you hold the wine, because that's what like kind of a guy who thinks he's better than everybody would kind of hold this
Yeah,
wine. You know what I mean?
just different. Yeah, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's just fun being an asshole.
Right. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Do you mind Timeless Tony Storm kind of taking the gimmick and turning it her own way, or you don't care?
It was clearly inspired by me. I know a lot of guys have been seeing that character for years. If all I did was professional wrestling, and I depended upon professional wrestling to put food on my table, to feed my family, I probably would have been pissed. But because I don't fucking have fun with it, I take it as a compliment. Clearly, somebody in the back saw what I was doing, use it for some kind of inspiration. It's the grainy old time black and white footage, the timeless name. She's doing awesome at it. But the fact that there's nothing in this for me, there's no urgency for me to make tons of money as a pro wrestler. So have fun, Tony Storm. You're doing fucking great. You know what I mean? I really don't care.
Did anyone ever say anything to you like about it? Just not even just from AEW, just any wrestler say, "Hey, Tony Storm's kind of doing your gimmick."
Tons of people, tons
Oh,
and tons and tons of people. But I don't care. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. She's kind of taken it in a different direction. I still say clearly inspired by my stuff. I'm sure it wasn't her. I'm sure it was somebody in the office. They all see my stuff, and it's cool. I don't depend on this stuff to pay my bills, to feed my family. Life is good. My business is great. If it was the other way around, maybe I'd feel differently. I really don't know because I'm not in that situation. So have at it. Have fun, and it's cool.
when she initially did it, definitely it's like, wow, it's copying Timeless. She is kind of turning into, I guess, more of a comedic thing than being more of a serious. It just seems like more comedy to me. This seems like where she was going with it.
I kind of see it's kind of evolved where if the timeless Crowbar met Goldust, that's kind of what I see now. I definitely
Yeah,
see his influences in it, and I definitely see my stuff in it. And she's doing great with it.
for sure. She's one of the only like female acts in AEW that like really stands out because she's doing a gimmick. Like she's playing a character. She's
And she's
really
playing it
amping it
off
up.
great. Yeah, was playing it off great.
When you were in AEW for your match, how did that all come about? Because you did wrestle there once with Joe Janela, if I remember
I
correctly.
I wrestled there in 2021 in Philadelphia at AEW Dark Elevation episode 32. If anybody wants to check it out, If you listen to the crowd throughout that match, they were into it. Got a lot of chants. Let's go Crowbar, kick his ass Crowbar, whatever. Got a great reaction from the people backstage. Had a great time with Joey. I have a long, well documented history with Joey. Had a fantastic time there and just haven't been back since. But it was a great, great time. Very, very grateful for it, especially at this stage of my career. To do something cool like that was awesome.
Has there ever been anybody else that's wrestled for ECW, WCW, AEW, Ring of Honor, um, TNA? I'm probably missing a few. Are you the only one to kind of do a clean sweep and
And
wrestle for everywhere?
Flair's last match, Jim Crockett,
Yeah,
Jim
JCP.
Crockett Promotions, and New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. I really don't know. I know Jerry Lynn's done a few. I know Christopher Daniels has quite a few. I th- I think Raven too, maybe.
Yeah,
Uh,
man, it's pretty
I think it's
amazing.
short. I think it's small company though.
Yeah, you've literally wrestled for every major promotion: WWF, WCW, ECW, TNA. It's just crazy, and even to throw AEW in the hat too. It's just like wow, every
Yeah.
major promotion. So that just shows the great staying power in the last 32 years.
Thank you, man. It's really really cool. I'm very humbled by it. Very grateful. Never in a million years did I ever think I would be doing this, continuing to do this later on in my career. Never did I think you always aspire, you always dream, but to be able to set foot in all those rings for all those different companies is just mind blowing. Extremely grateful. Thank you, God. I got way more than I deserve.
Definitely going to get back to wrestling in 1 second, but I see Vader in the background, so I got to ask you: out of the new Disney Plus, obviously, or really Disney Star Wars, out of the new series, what has been your favorite?
I liked them all. I liked. I love. I loved Mando. I loved Ahsoka. I liked Andor. I love the animated stuff a lot. I love the Clone Wars, the Rebels, Tales of the Jedi. If I had to pick one, I love Book of Boba Fett. But if I had to pick just one, I say my favorite would be Mandalorian right now.
Man, it's funny. I was thinking in my head like
But
a
but Ahsoka a very close second. And when I was on the road for WCW, I discovered the Star Wars novels. I discovered the Heir to the Empire, Grand Admiral Thrawn. So to see
yeah.
him in live action, it was cool seeing him in Rebels, as a cartoon, but to see a live action Grand Admiral Thrawn on Ahsoka was incredible, and I think it. I think they did it so well too. Great
Man, I was
heel, fantastic heel.
so good. And I was watching, I was thinking, it's like, oh, I wonder what's the best. And it's funny, I was thinking in my head, Obi-Wan, which I liked, is probably my least favorite if I was
Like that one
ranking
too.
them.
Yes, I like them all. Yeah.
But if I was ranking, I was like, I might put, which is crazy, Obi-Wan last. And then it's like, I think Mando's first, but maybe Ahsoka, you're right, in that close second, because that was such a good series. The villains were great. Even Balin was great.
Night
It's just,
Sisters were awesome.
yeah, like
Big
really
mark for the Night Sisters. What I
they
didn't
did
get in
really good.
Obi-Wan, he went from having no power to just kind of beating Vader like this. What I envisioned, my fantasy booking was he's all weak, he's disconnected from the Force. I saw maybe something where Leia is in really dire straits. She's in a lot of danger, and Qui-Gon shows up almost like Mick to Rocky and like wakes him up in the Force and gives him the Force back somehow. And it's just kind of like he went from having minimal force to ultra force, like with no moment that made that caused that transition. But I still loved watching it.
Yeah, true. You're right. And I thought maybe a little bit too much on Leia, not enough on Luke the kid, because wasn't he supposed to be watching
Yeah,
Luke the whole time? Like I was like, where are they going with this?
I thought so too.
And then Ahsoka, I love Balin, obviously R.I.P. But that he unfortunately,
Fantastic. Oh, he
yeah,
was great.
he was great. I love that he when you look at it, it's like he kind of defeated her. She never got her win back, quote
Yeah.
unquote. I thought that was awesome because it just shows you like, wow, this guy's great. I wonder whose side is he really on? You know?
I was confused. Like, I love Star Wars. I love all the animated stuff, but I know how good Ahsoka was for me just because I knew the backstory of the Mortis gods and all that type of stuff. I'm not
Yes.
sure. I couldn't imagine watching it, not seeing the animated and not knowing all these extra little things like the Night Sisters and stuff.
Yep.
When you knew who the players were and the history behind them, it just makes it so much better.
If I didn't see all the Clone Wars and all the Rebels, I would have been lost. You know what I mean? Like I would have been like, "Who the hell's
Yeah,
that? What does that mean? Why
yeah,
why is he obsessed with the skull thing?" Which is like, you know what I mean? You'd be like, "What is that?" Or the mountain
yeah,
thing. You know, it was like
yep.
weird. Like so, you have to watch Rebels and Clone
Just
Wars
makes
to
it so much better. Yep,
yeah to understand it all. But I just thought it was like, man, Ahsoka, they hit a home run. I wasn't thinking it was going to be that great. Like it's almost
that
like
was
Andor,
great,
low expectations. Man, they hit a home run with it.
and I loved it. Seeing Anakin's ghost was fantastic. That was so awesome.
Really kind of a retribution for him as a character. Because remember after Attack of the Clones, everyone, oh, he's a terrible actor. This guy sucks. Well, now everybody loves him. So it's kind of
It
a
was great.
complete
Yeah,
turnaround.
yep. And also seeing scenes from the Clone Wars in live action was great.
Yeah, that was cool. Very cool. Man, Book of Boba Fett I liked too. Was cool. Cad
Yep,
Bane in live
that
action was awesome.
fantastic character. A lot of people got down on Book of Boba Fett, and as an older guy, I think you see it differently. Like a lot of people wanted to see him become that ruthless bounty hunter, the ruthless bounty hunter again. But he had a near death experience. He has all these experiences that helped him to evolve and see that life's not just going out to kill people for money. And he becomes humanized, but he's still a badass. I really liked it a lot. You know, the whole transition from this faceless killer to this really human evolved guy that could still be a killer.
And the great thing is at the end with him and Cad Bane is he gets the final victory over him. If you know, obviously if you know the backstory, he knows him from
Yeah.
Clone Wars. He's kind of his mentor. He's the protege.
Ding in
Like
the
so,
helmet, the ding in
yep,
the helmet too. Yep.
yep. So like everything kind of like makes sense where it goes along. So that final scene is great. But then it's like, well, if he doesn't kill him, he's not a badass. And then he kills him. It's like, okay, he's still a
Yeah.
badass. Yeah.
Yep.
That was perfect. I thought that was awesome done. It was like an old gunfight, basically. You know, you're watching the
It
old
was
Wild West.
fantastic. Yep. I
So
agree. Great scene.
So, what are you looking forward to next? Like, what's coming out next for Disney? Is it Andor season 2, or what are you looking forward to?
Bad Batch season 3 is out, I think, next.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Another great show. And there's stuff in there that's from those Heir to the Empire novels. Near the end of last season, you saw Mount Tantus, which in the novels was where the Emperor kept all his top secret stuff. And and they were working on the Dark Troopers there. And in the books, that's where they cloned Luke from his hand and all stuff like that. So who knows what we're going to see?
Man, it's so cool. Like when you look at how much possibilities and kind of where they can go, and supposedly this Mando plus Ahsoka plus Boba Fett movie that's
Yep.
coming out from Filoni and Favreau. So like, man, they got a bunch of good stuff coming down the pike.
I can't
Def-
wait.
yeah, looking forward to Ahsoka season 2 too. Whenever that hell that comes out, that'll be good.
Yep.
And
I
hopefully
agree.
Mando's not done. Hopefully.
I I saw they on Facebook. I'm not sure if it's true or not. It said that Mando season 4 would be released as a movie. I don't know if it was clickbait or not, but I was at work and I saw it super quick, and I did not have. I saw the headline, did not have time to click on the link. Just too busy.
Grand Admiral Thrawn is great. I'm always loving the villain. That's why Bad Batch is cool because not only Palpatine's on it, but you got Krennic and Tarkin. So I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of the villain. So it's pretty cool that they're on that show too.
And if you read the book, the cool thing about Thrawn, the distinct difference between Thrawn and Vader was that Vader got his troops and officers to do what he wanted by fear. They were scared that he would kill them. The people that followed Thrawn respected the hell out of him. He only accepted the casualties he absolutely had to have. Like Vader would send people into battle to get the job done, and if they died, they died. Thrawn would try to avoid death, and he was a brilliantly smart guy, and his troops respected him. And you saw that in Ahsoka when they had the zombie troopers. The Night Sister says they all volunteered. They openly volunteered to do that job for him, knowing that they would be left behind once the ship left.
Right. True. Yeah, definitely.
Respect, not fear, which is
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. And I love that he's
Totally
like a
different.
Tarkin disciple too. I love that.
Yes. Yep.
Kind of gave him his rank or whatever, and kind of pushed him up the
Absolutely.
ladder, which is pretty cool. So I
And if
love that.
you and if you get deep into the Star Wars lore, when they get into how the Empire was almost racist, they only had humans as officers, but so brilliant was Thrawn that with the Emperor Moff Tarkin, they made him a Grand Admiral because he was that good, in spite of him not being a human, which is awesome.
Did you hate The Last Jedi as much as I did?
Uh, I I hid the Last Jedi. I thought it was worse than the Star Wars Christmas special.
Yeah, it's funny. People were ripping on Rise of the Skywalker. I said that saved it because Last Jedi
Yeah.
was so damn bad. They actually had to go back and like, okay, you forgot about the Knights of Ren. You forgot about like we have to have a villain. You killed Snoke. It's like terrible.
Rise of Skywalker did the best they could given the circumstances.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yep.
I am hoping, it's been rumored online forever for the past few years. I'm hoping somehow Filoni erases the sequel trilogy via the World Between Worlds.
Oh,
And he
how's he
could.
gonna do that? What is it about though? What happens?
No, I'm saying that the World Between Worlds is in Rebels. You know, remember that, right? So
Oh
where
yes,
Ezra
yes,
pulls Ahsoka out and he
yep,
prevents her from dying from Vader. Changes the future.
yes, yes. Oh, okay, I gotcha. See, I like Force Awakens. Hated Jedi, and Rise of the Skywalker wasn't as good as Force, but it was still good enough. And I love Palpatine. So
Force Awakens was a good setup, had a lot of cool characters. They played it safe, very similar to the first Star Wars with the big space station, but it was great. I liked the characters. I wanted to see who Snoke was, where that went, where he
yep,
came from. I
yep.
wanted that backstory, and they just killed him.
That was
They just
made no
killed him.
sense. Made no sense. I remember I saw with a couple buddies of mine. We went to the bar after we're just sitting there, and we're like, "Who wants to say it?" And they're like, we're all like, What?" They're like, "That sucked." They're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. You're like, we're like, what the hell is Snoke's whole point?" And thank God they said it in, or you got a glimpse of it in Skywalker. That was like, "Oh, he's a clone." Oh, okay. Like, so it started to make a
Still,
little bit of sense, but oh no, you don't think he was?
no, no, I'm saying it was a bad explanation being a clone. I didn't like it.
Oh, but at least they did something because Last Jedi there was nothing. There was like no story about him
I
at all.
was hoping that he was Darth Plagueis, maybe. I thought I
Oh,
thought that was an
yeah,
option.
yeah,
Looked really
yep,
old, really, really kind of beat up and all. Darth Plagueis did find a way to cheat death. Maybe
right,
Palpatine did not kill him, or he thought he did, but he really didn't.
right. They could have did something, but I was like, oh, at least they did something. Because Last Jedi, they just killed him and didn't explain who the hell he was. Like, what the hell?
Yep,
And how
yep,
is he so powerful? Like, oh my god, what a disaster! Oh my god.
yep.
But let's get back into wrestling because you mentioned
All right.
our good old buddy Ace Darling. You mentioned him before,
Yes.
and I always think about that team, the Extremist, aka the Extreme, that great tag team. How did the WCW thing happen? I know obviously you were there a bunch. You were in ECW, and you and him came up together. But how did that happen with Monday Nitro, the NWO, the Outsiders? How did that all come about?
I went to WCW first. It was after I had a series of matches with Sabu, and it was when Nitro was an hour. It was only an hour. It was 4 matches. They brought me into work Conan when he had the Mexican heavyweight title,
Yep.
And after that, I had a few shots on WCW Saturday Night. From that, I went to ECW for about close to a year, and I was a glorified job guy and most hated guy in the locker room, probably. And then
Hmm.
after that, Ace and I started teaming up, and we started doing WCW Saturday Night. We did Nitro against the Outsiders. We did some work for WWE, where we were booked pretty much every weekend as, the tag team locally on independence and stuff.
So then they're saying, "Hey, we got a spot open on," or I guess it would probably be Kevin Sullivan, right? "Hey, we got a spot open on
Yep.
Nitro."
Yep. 2 weeks in a row, we did the job to Hall and Nash, and they were just getting their steam going. Yep.
Was it supposed to be 2 weeks in a row? I was always curious about that because I obviously,
We we were told they worked us the first time, liked us so much that we did it again.
whoa, two tippy top guys there with the NWO want to
Yeah.
work you twice
Yep.
in a row.
Yeah.
What did you think about that whole experience?
It was really cool. At that time, we were both full-time college students. We're flying out, going to Nitro. I mean, it was awesome. What can you say? Mind blowing.
I remember obviously being a New Jersey guy and going to all the New Jersey indie shows. You and Ace were like two of the top guys. You got Quackenbush in there. You got Lance Diamond, Reckless Youth. I mean, there's a bunch of other guys through the years that were good, but you guys were like, holy shit, these are like the two big New Jersey indie guys that I've seen a million times. They're on TV wrestling the Outsiders. Like, what happened? What the hell's going on? Very cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool experience. Again, I've gotten so many cool things to do, way more than I deserved. I mean, super, super grateful. It was just awesome.
Was
Mind
that
blowing
supposed
experience.
was that supposed to lead to more?
They knew we were full time in school. They still used us for intermittent Saturday night shows. Like we worked Public Enemy on Saturday night. We worked High Voltage. There were a few shows where he couldn't make it and I could, and I worked Alex Wright, Dallas Page, and I did singles matches as well.
So did you think like, okay, once I'm done, I'm getting a full time contract as far as school was done, or what did you think?
We were hoping for it, and then after that, they stopped using us. I actually spoke to Dallas Page, who's also a Jersey guy, and he goes, bro, he goes, it's great. You do some really good stuff. You're getting better and better. And at that time, it was different than it is now. If you did a lot of squash matches or glorified job matches, Page said, you're doing a lot of good stuff, but if you keep doing this, you're going to be typecast in that job guy role. He goes, go finish school, keep getting better and better. And when you graduate, if I could do something for you, I will. So I left there. And shortly thereafter, I got a call from Jim Cornette, and WWE had started up their light heavyweight division. And he brought me an ace in for that. Uh, I wrestled Ace on Raw. I wrestled Ace on Shotgun Saturday night. And then I wrestled Brian Christopher on Shotgun Saturday night. And I wrestled Taka in the first round of the first ever WWE light heavyweight tournament. From there, I did a few of those Funkin' dojos that Dory Funk ran. And they looked at potential talent to sign, did not get picked up. I graduated school. I worked for about a year in a hospital. And after about a year, I got signed to WCW.
I love that. Cornette remembers you, and obviously years later he gives you the timeless name, but pretty cool. Cornette always popping up in your history.
He's uh, Jim Cornette has done so much for me. I can never say a bad thing about him. He's done so much for me personally. He's always a great guy when I see him, and I'm really cool with a lot of people that hate each other. It's so funny. I guess I'm a diplomat. Like the Crowbar character came about by Vince Russo. Gave me great opportunity. I can never talk anything bad about Vince Russo. I'm a grateful guy. How could Jim Cornette's done tons for me in my career. These guys happen to hate each other, but each one individually did so much good by me. I can never say a bad word about either one of them. And that's just two examples right there.
When you do go to WCW and you do get signed, who actually signed you though? Is it Sullivan or would it be Russo and them?
Eric Bischoff
Oh, Bishop.
via
Okay.
Dallas Page. At that time, I'm not sure who was the head booker, but it was before Russo came in. So I got signed. Page goes, "Hey, I got your deal. I just want you to get really sharp so I don't look bad. Come move down here, go to the power plant for me." I said, absolutely. 2 weeks later, I moved on down. I left my job. I packed up my house and everything, and I went down there. And I was at the power plant and did about 5 or 6 shows on Saturday night as a more gothic-y looking Devon Storm with the dark hair. Billy Kidman wrestled him, wrestled Vampiro, Mike Sanders, Jamie Noble, Chuck Palumbo, Booker T, and then the last match I had was against Chris Benoit that got the highest rating that Saturday night had gotten in quite a long time, which got some attention. And so the story goes, as I was told, I flew into Denver, Colorado. Saturday night was the next day in Vail, Colorado. The crew was coming back from Nitro the night before. They were all at the hotel bar. I had checked in. I went down to the hotel bar to get something to eat. And my hair was down. I had a black leather jacket on. And I guess I looked kind of mean and gritty and like badass. And I guess Vince Russo had never seen me before, inquired who that was, and yada, yada, yada. I became David Flair's tag team partner.
And where's the name come from? Where's the Crowbar name come from?
At that time, David Flair was playing a crazy guy. He was stalking women backstage
With the gimmick,
and
yeah.
and he was hitting people with a crowbar. So they came up with this skit. It's on Thunder. December of 1999 sometime. David Flair is with Daphne, and they're out in a car doing crazy stuff, and they're being pursued by Vampiro and the Misfits. David and Daphne pull into a gas station. I'm the guy there pumping gas. I'm crazy. I yell at some guy that asked me to check his oil, and I go, "What the sign says gas, not oil change." I scream at him, which David Flair likes because he's nuts. And he goes, "Hey, man, what's your name?" And I say, "Some people call me Crowbar." And he's been hitting people with a crowbar. So we get this psychotic connection there. And I'm back.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And you got the psychotic connection, but it's awesome because he's not that great of a worker, to be
Well,
honest, but he's a good character. You're a great worker who's developing a character.
the behind the scenes story was, for whatever reason, all David Flair was getting a rating when he was on stalking people doing his crazy stuff. People tuned in, they tracked it. He had a rating. uh, David Flair at that time, not a very strong in-ring performer, so they came up with the idea, we'll put him in a tag, that way we can at least get him in the ring, and we'll put him with a proficient wrestler that could do the majority of the tag team action. And that's how I got my break from the WCW Saturday Night Show as Devon Storm, the Gothic guy, to Crowbar on the main show.
But it's cool. It's like, all right, we need this guy to have somebody who can work with him. We'll put him in a tag team, and he'll look good, even though he's progressing. But it's like he'll look good because this guy's been wrestling and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
When you get put with him, do they say to you, "Hey, we want you to be like extra nuts," or like how do they want you to portray the character, or do they just say it's up to you to portray it how you want to portray it?
They gave me a lot of artistic license, but Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara said exactly, we want you to go out there and say, wow, uh, No, make the people say, "Wow, this guy is even crazier than David Flair." And that was my instructions.
Did they give you like scripts and stuff, or this is you guys just being you guys?
When we were doing our skits and stuff, yes, but with the in ring and how we acted going down the aisle and the putting our heads together, pulling each other's hair, and all the wild stuff we did at ringside was just ad lib stuff.
Did you have a lot of fun with David? Like, did you guys get along?
I loved it. I can honestly say that the Crowbar character is probably the closest to Chris Ford. Believe it or not, it was a big kid being unable to believe that he has a character, a wrestling character on a main show, tag belts, tagging with Ric Flair's son, and being used in this manner. And it was just me enjoying myself. If you look back at the Crowbar character, has this funny shit-eating grin all the time, wacky eyes. That is probably it's Chris Ford having the time of his life playing a crazy person. And that's the God's honest truth.
I love it. I love that gimmick. But it was funny because it's like, man, what are they doing with David Flair? Why is he so nuts? Like, you know what I mean? But he pulled it off.
The cool part is too is when you're playing a crazy person, nothing's wrong. Couldn't mess it up.
You could push the limits and just be.
Yes.
That was almost like Scott Steiner, like when he would have promos and like he'd screw him up or he'd say something. It didn't matter.
Made
He
it
was still
better.
awesome.
Made it better.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But to me, it was always like, wow, what the hell happened with David Flair? Like he snapped. Like what happened here? Like his dad made him snap.
Yep.
When you get
I
put
forget
with
what the
Daft,
actual I forget what the actual cause of the snap was though. I got to go back and look.
I'm trying to remember too because I used to watch WCW religiously. But I was trying to remember. I thought it had something to do with was it Stacy Keebler and him were together and something
Maybe
happened where
Kimberly, maybe. I think it was Kimberly Page because he had been crazy for a while before I got there.
or was it Tori Wilson?
I'm not sure. Stacy Keebler came later. It was either I think it
Yeah, it
was
might have been.
Kimberly Page. I think
Okay.
I think it was Kimberly,
And then
or maybe it
I'm,
was Tori.
yeah, I'm
Not
just trying to
sure.
remember, but I know it was a female, and I think he snapped over, and it had something to do with his dad, and then he's beating up the mailman, and then then all that
Yeah.
other fun stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
When you look at that pairing, not only with him but with Daphne, what'd you think about her? Because it just seemed like you guys were just gelled perfectly together. Like she fit the mold with you guys.
We were three young kids in a great spot and just having a great time. No drama, no nothing, no wondering how long it was going to last. Just enjoying ourselves. It was one of the most fun times I've ever had in pro wrestling. Was with the two of them. It was great.
Were you shocked to be WCW Tag Team Champions? Were you expecting it, or what did you kind of think
Was
about that?
not expecting it at all. Uh, I love speaking with Mike Tenay. We see very similar in pro wrestling. We love characters, but we love work rate. And I showed up at the building, and I'm not even sure it's a brand anymore, but I had a champion shirt on. And he goes, Mr. Barr, how'd you know? Like, how'd I know what? He goes, well, that shirt you're wearing. I go, yeah. He goes, you guys are getting the tag straps tonight. And I was no friggin' way. It was mind blowing. It was nuts. Did not expect that at all. Like I said, I was thrilled. I was more than happy just to be part of the big show and to have a character, and not just a nameless undercard guy, but like a character in this main show. And then my second week out there to become the tag champs, it was an unbelievable experience. I remember the call from Ace. He goes, "Oh my God!" He goes, "My best friend just won the WCW Tag Team Championship." He goes, "I am blown away for you."
Pretty damn cool, right? I mean,
Yeah,
and like you said, you didn't even expect it.
nah, no clue whatsoever. No clue whatsoever. Zero on that one.
Did you
Biggest.
want to?
It was probably one of the biggest shocks of my career. Totally not expecting that. when I showed up at the building that week.
Did you want to hold it longer, or who cares at this point? I'm WCW Tag Team Champion.
I was just thrilled to have it. It was cool.
How about the Cruiserweight belt when you win that? Were you surprised about that? Because then there's another belt on the resume for WCW, which Cruiserweight division always was one of the hottest for WCW.
Totally surprised about that. It was kind of a co-holding with Daphne, but it was still kind of cool. And the hardcore too. It's whenever they give you a title, it shows the company has some kind of faith in you in some way, shape, or form. So it's great. And if you're a wrestling fan, guys all the time will say, belts don't matter, this don't matter, that don't matter. When you're in the industry and you're trusted with a belt, if it's for a week, if it's for a month, if it's for a year, it's a big deal. And anybody that says it's not is a liar.
Right. I like that. Were you supposed to feud with Candido for the Cruiserweight Championship? Because I thought I remembered you were supposed to feud with him at one point. It never happened, right?
We had 2 matches. The first match was a single. The second one was a mixed tag. I really wish that would have went a lot more. We loved working with each other. We knew each other from with the indies here. I think the 2 times we worked for WCW, we killed it. That's something that I would have loved to have, more of a program with,
But on the other spectrum, when you win the hardcore title, you get to feud with Terry Funk. I mean, that's got to be pretty cool. As an old school fan, right?
One of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Terry Funk. I tell people all the time, one of my favorite matches was the New York Knockout, Flair Funk, the I Quit match, which was essentially a hardcore match, but before the term hardcore had really been coined. That was a hardcore match before it was called a hardcore match. It was one of my favorite matches. Was an extremely huge fan of Terry Funk. When he went to ECW, I became an even bigger fan at that advanced age, seeing him do such incredible stuff. The guy was awesome. And then to have the opportunity to wrestle Terry Funk for a title on Starrcade, and for the younger fans, Starrcade was essentially WCW's version of WrestleMania. That's something I could never have dreamt in a million years.
Really cool. And again, to put that on the resume, Terry Funk, Starrcade, title match, you know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
Crazy. Yeah, it's unfathomable. Again, I've gotten way more than I deserve.
Only thing that really sucks about the WCW run is that it had to come to an end because Vince buys WCW. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that's the only thing that really sucked about it, right?
Yes.
Man, were you ever supposed to go to WWE? I know you've done dark matches, and were you supposed to go after they bought out the WCW or no?
I had several dark matches, got great responses, and I'm not a delusional vet saying, "Oh, I was way over." Got a great response at the Garden, great response at Philly, and then for whatever reason, it doesn't materialize. And in hindsight, right before the Garden match, I had Medina, my wife, at a Jim Kettner show in Delaware, and we had just started to talk. And had I got picked up right after that Garden match, we may not have been able to cultivate what we did. So, and this sounds, in hindsight now, with my business, with my kids, with my wife, not, and I say this, it's not a cop out. Not getting signed to the WWE at the time was the best thing not to happen to me. I can't be more grateful for my existence, for my life with my wife and my kids and my business, and the fact that all these years later from there, 22 years later, I'm able to wrestle on my terms. I could take the shows I want, don't take the ones that I don't want. I'm able to go out there and wrestle really hard. If I get banged up, I have 4 other therapists at work that could pick up the slack for me. I'm having a blast. So while at that time I was devastated that I was not picked up, I really thought I should have been there. I knew what I could do had I was I given the opportunity to be there. But often you don't see stuff until it's in the rear view. not making it was the best thing not to happen to me, and I thank God for it every single day.
Wow, worked out for the best for sure.
Yes.
As we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish here. Where's the favorite place you've ever worked? 'Cause we talked to you worked everywhere. Where's your favorite place that you worked?
Madison Square Garden had to be one of them just because it's a garden. I actually put out a tweet today uh, to anybody in the WWE office, in the production, whatever. If that match against El Gran Apollo from Madison Square Garden exists anywhere, I will gladly pay for it. I would love to have that match, as well as a dark match in Philadelphia versus John Cena when he was still the prototype. But consistently, probably my favorite building. Uh, when I go there, I usually act more like a heel. I crap on the building. I crap on the crowd. I crap on the history. I crap on the people that are associated with it. But I love wrestling at the ECW / 2300 arena. But don't tell the people that.
Of course not. And find that damn MSG match. Come on, people. It
If
exists.
anybody has it, get it to me
Yeah.
for my own. It's for my own personal consumption, for me and to show my kids.
Favorite Star Wars movie? Empire Strikes Back.
It used to be, and I'll
Oh,
explain why. Because I really thought about it a lot, and in order to understand why it's not, you got to go back to the time, and you got to put myself in that child. And Empire Strikes Back was great, but when I was that child, at the end of Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo is in carbonite. You found out Darth Vader is Luke's father. Maybe, maybe not. You saw Yoda for the first time. Uh, this was before the special edition. So, Star Wars and Empire, you've heard of Jabba the Hutt, but you've never seen him. And then years later comes Return of the Jedi. You see Jabba the Hutt, and he's awesome looking. And he's in an environment that's very reminiscent of the Cantina. All these weird aliens from all different places and planets, and really cool looking things. And if you were a kid, they were awesome action figures. It was great. You find out that Vader is in fact uh, Luke's father. You see the Emperor as a person for the first time, not a hologram like he did in Empire. You see him as a person. Uh, you see all this. Darth Vader takes his mask off. You see Force lightning for the first time. So when I really think about it, because of all the payoffs and stuff like that, I'd have to say Return of the Jedi.
nice. I like
Just
the rationale.
just for those reasons. It's not just arbitrary. I think as an adult, I appreciate that Empire's probably the better movie, but the emotions attached to Return of the Jedi outweigh the better movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. I agree. I love the rationale. Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. So, what is next for you? What do you got coming up down the pike? I know you're super busy, but what's next?
I'm in Philadelphia this Saturday for the first time against Facade, which I cannot wait for. Uh, I'm in Barnegat for ISPW January 20th or the 30th. On the 29th, I'm wrestling for Outlaw Wrestling, and who knows what pops up in between then. I have been known to, if there's a local show and I want to get a workout in, I have been known to just kind of show up unannounced and say, "Hey, you got room for me?"
Oh, I like that old
Just
school
because I
style.
just just if I'm free that night and I'm feeling froggy and I got to scratch that wrestling itch and it's not too far from home, I'm may just show up.
I love that. Now, where can everybody find you, social media and otherwise?
I basically just do for wrestling Twitter or X at WCW Crowbar.
All right, awesome. Crowbar, Devon Storm, Chris. Thank you so much for all the time.
Thank
Really
you so
appreciate
much,
it.
man. Thank you, dude.